Hello. So, trying to got into a discussion about usual stuff on Twitter, and um, what's his name? Michael Sartori was like, "Why don't you make videos on Michael Brown's True Messiah?" And I was like, "Oh God, no." I mean, I have fun discussing um, theology, and I'm willing to discuss theology, but honestly, if I'm just going to be discussing theology on the internet, um, maybe I should be eating grilled pandas on an island. So hello, Garth. So I decided to discuss this instead. Nathan, friend of the show, uh, father of 1.5 children, uh, good man, lives in a building built in the 18th century in a small town in Pennsylvania. Uh, I hope I haven't doxed him too much. But Nathan tweeted this screenshot. So much in one screenshot, and he's right. So VB Knives, I have no idea who VB Knives is. He has 61 likes. Writes, this app is like cigarettes and alcohol, basically dollar store products. But many of the richest men on earth are addicted and would give up all other pleasures first. He's quoting from Osita Nwanevu. Also have no idea who that is. Who tweeted, Bill Ackman is worth $4 billion. He should be eating grilled baby panda on an island somewhere, unbothered. Instead, he accidentally humiliates his wife because he's too online. This is still a powerful website. I'm guessing Osita doesn't have a check mark because Osita hates Elon Musk. And Aryaga3 replies, you can't buy a nicer phone, a better Diet Coke, or a different Twitter than they can. The great equalizers. I mean, Nathan is absolutely right that there's so much in one screenshot. I quote tweeted him and wrote, materialism fails. Grilled baby panda on an island doesn't give you meaning. And it doesn't. And it was right around when Jonathan Haidt posted this. The teen mental health crisis was not caused by reality getting worse around 2012. This is a chart showing teen mental health getting worse while their thriving index gets better. Their material and physical health improved steadily. To paraphrase Epictetus, it is not events which disturb teens. It is the device through which they interpret all events. I mean, people think it's about these devices, and I think they're wrong. in many, many, many ways. Hello, Chazi. Garth says, such is life, even as a billionaire. So, I mean, do we need to look at this child trends report? Do we, in this little corner of the internet, really, I mean, have, this is the important stuff. And if, I mean, we can sit around and talk about theology, etc. What's going on with Bill Ackman and Harvard and DEI reckoning and the I mean, 2024 is an election year. Tomorrow morning, I have to get up early and go to my internship at Catholic Charities. And I have a class for my Master's of Social Work. And then I have my internship at a outpatient mental health clinic for the poor and focusing on domestic violence a lot. And it's a full 12-hour day because grilled baby pandas on an island somewhere doesn't give you meaning. And I mean, to talk about addiction, yeah, some people try to drown meaning with alcohol and drugs and food and sex. And Chazi says, packed productive day. Nice. Yes. And hopefully sometime in early February, Ryan, who is I am hoping to lure into working with Fountain of Comfort, is going to come out to Los Angeles, and we are going to go to Estuary together. And Max accepted a job in Los Angeles. So he's moving to Los Angeles. Max, the social worker, clinical social worker Max, not the musician Max. The musician Max already lives in Los Angeles. Shadow also lives in Los Angeles, and she wanted you to know that. Um, um, I wonder if meaning scares some people. Maybe at first. Uh, Finding meaning? I don't know if finding meaning scares people. Um, the idea of meaning, maybe. Um, yeah, I mean, what are we doing here? Why are we bothering? Bill Ackman has $4 billion. Fun. You will have a little crew. Perhaps organize your own local meetups. Well, I'm hoping Fountain of Comfort will become something real. Um, we do have a little Los Angeles crew here. Um, Garth made lasagna with his girlfriend. It was a good day. You didn't ask her to marry you. Put a ring on the finger. Get married. Have kids. That'll give you meaning in your life, hopefully. Communal living is important. Um, yeah. Andre! I am not hearing you. Max says, put a ring in the lasagna. There, I'm hearing something. Say something.
Da, 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 da.
Yes, we can hear you.
Wow, I've
Yeah.
seemed to have like muted myself a bunch of times and like talked and then been like, "What's happening?"
Happens. Garth says lasagna, then marriage. Chazi says, what are we doing here? Arming ourselves with meaning for the road ahead.
Wedding Garfield would be like, I don't like matrimonies.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot. Garfield loved lasagna, didn't he? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's
So
a ser there's
yeah.
a very surreal series that someone has done, which is Garfield without John. Sorry, without Garfield.
Mm.
And they just Photoshop Garfield out, and it makes John look like a schizophrenic sort of manic guy. Like he'll be in the first panel going, "I bought a tie today," and then he just pauses and then just says, "Well, guess it's time to eat." And like he turns to nobody and stuff like that. And like once you remove the cat, it sort of it becomes very weird.
Okay. Okay. I guess you have to see it. So, how are things down under?
Uh they've been okay. I was sick last week.
Mm.
Um, Sorry, I'm just eating a bit of food.
Eat. Um, yeah, I didn't. It's summer down under.
Yep, it
Yeah.
was 30 degrees a couple of days ago.
Oh wow.
For a few days in a row.
That's like 100 something, right? In Fahrenheit.
86, I think.
Oh, that's not so bad. 30 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit is 86 degrees. That's not so bad.
Yeah, it's the problem is outside it's fine,
Mm-hmm.
because you walk outside and it's like it's not muggy,
Mm-hmm.
it's not super dry. It's like just like a nice, warm sort of bathing
Mm-hmm.
heat, and but not overly overbearing. Inside, because particularly I've got bad ventilation.
Mm-hmm.
I have the fan on all the time, and it's got a little thermometer on it, and usually it sticks to about 28 or 29 degrees. And I'm on medication for my ADD,
Mm-hmm.
so I look at my Fitbit,
Mm-hmm.
and it's say 1 a.m. and I'm
Mm-hmm.
running at 138 BPM,
Well,
and it and like just I have to put shorts on and just like open the door because
mm-hmm.
it's so warm and muggy. Um, and there's just no way around it because we've got metal roller shutters and they're
Mm-hmm.
stuck at the moment. So the sun beams down, makes an air curtain of hot air, and
Mm-hmm.
then if you think about how airflow works, you push with a fan and to out of a larger window.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and not only is that sort of blocked off by that air curtain, like the two surfaces, but they're not the proper opening windows like that. They're these little rolling things,
Mm-hmm.
which sort of makes like a V shape with
Mm-hmm.
fly wire.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like shooting. It's like shooting a cannon, like through a little vent, in a
Mm-hmm.
way. Like you're just trying to push too much air through something that's not dissipating it.
Right.
So it's even if it could sort of cool it's not going to do it efficiently. So it needs to reseat the chain on
Mm.
the roller shutters so I can like roll it up sometimes and just like air out during the day.
Mm. The energy prices in Australia are pretty high, right?
Um,
I think comparatively to the
I
United
don't think
States.
so, but I think we are starting to get some inflation
Mm.
and cost of living increases.
Mm.
Um, that's something that's come up in the last couple of years. Is like I know the US is suffering more inflation, I believe. Like it's more of a problem. Whereas here it didn't come up, and then suddenly had people saying to me, "Oh, you know that like inflation's starting to happen," and not to any severe level, but uh, I I think
Well,
like yeah, some rent is increasing and energy prices are going up a little bit.
I had friends from the United States live in Australia and and New Zealand. And a uniform complaint of Americans living in other places is heating and air conditioning and hot water tends to be a lot more sparse because it's so much more expensive than it is in the United States.
Okay. Let me look up current. What are you looking? Heating prices?
Yeah, I guess.
Australia. Ducted gas heating installation. Oh, that's installation. We're looking for what would it be?
Well,
Kilowatt
here,
per.
yeah. How much does it? How much does a kilowatt hour cost in Australia? In California, so it's 30 cents a kilowatt.
Okay, natural gas is 14.14 cents per kilowatt hour.
In Australia, uh,
And the electricity is 30 cents per kilowatt hour.
yeah, that's not very different.
And it's probably a bit cheaper as well because of the
Oh, hold
exchange rate.
on. So in California, our prices are close to Australia. The rest of the United States, it's close. The average in the United States is 19 cents a kilowatt hour.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so it's like a
ours is
third less.
yeah. Makes sense because you've got more distribution.
Well, we also we have a lot more gas and atomic weapon, atomic. I mean
Yeah,
nuclear.
nuclear, and
Yeah.
we're very coal powered
Mm,
because we have like a shitload of coal, and
mm,
it's like push. It's like yeah, like why not use it?
yeah.
And there's never really been a big nuclear push. I don't know even know if we have a nuclear reactor. It's we jumped straight to renewables.
Reactor Australia. Uh nuclear nuclear power in Australia. The prospect of nuclear power in Australia has been a topic of public debate since 1950. Australia has one nuclear plant in Lucas Heights, Sydney,
Uh,
but is not used to produce nuclear power, but instead is used to produce medical radioisotopes.
that would make sense. That's the sort of thing Australia would do. uh, the good thing is though with our renewables, like say what you will about like the left and greenies and like
Mm,
oh man we just need solar power, we just need wind power, but we have buyback schemes. So we've got solar panels on the roof here, and
mm,
you get paid. You get a tax credit for installing them, and you also can earn money back on the dollar for sort of like generating electricity in a way,
mm.
because you're not generating an excess, but because
Yeah.
you're sort of generating your own, you're gaining a bit back. So it is more financially feasible.
Yeah, Chazi says my US clients must have the US appliances and instant hot water. I could not stand the lack of hot water in Israel. I need my hot showers, like, and everybody has a dud shemesh, which is a hot water heater that uses solar power, and it's like, okay, can I get some hot water, please? Um, but like, yeah, whatever. Uh, yeah, that was a surprise when I first visited England. Um, well, I've only visited England once, but when I went and visited England, I was just so shocked by how hard it was to get hot water for a hot shower.
Yeah, and here's a question. I don't know if this is us versus England or us versus the US,
Mm,
but the prospect of that the hot and cold water comes out of a single tank,
mm,
um, versus being two systems, because there is a country where the idea of having one system doesn't work. They have like a separate cold and a separate hot.
well, we have separate cold. Yeah, so you have to have one cold water and one hot water. Um, yeah, for yeah, like yeah, that's
Yeah,
how it
that
works.
see, I that's weird to me because
And then you
it's
have a
it's more
mixer at the sink or at the
yeah,
bath, yeah, shower
that's
or
right.
whatever. Yeah.
Because we just have the one system, and like if you want that cold water, you just
Mm.
don't heat it up. If you want hot water, you just run the like thermostat through it, and it goes to the same tap or the second
Ye-
tap.
Right. That's because you don't have these huge tanks of. So a typical, like my single apartment had a tank that was about this tall. I guess it was like a 30 gallon tank that kept hot water constantly.
Ah, okay. So you've got constancy, whereas we've got like it's adaptable.
Well,
So
it's a lot cheaper than constantly heating 30 gallons of water.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
that's right, cheaper. So
yeah,
you can just have it like whenever you want. But we're like,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. In the United States, like instant hot water is what's expected.
that makes sense because you've got this culture of like, and this is like generalizing. You've got the hot water all the time.
Yeah.
You get a meal and it's a big plate. It's a lot of food because why pay for a small amount of food when you can eat more? And the water comes with a lot of ice. Um, because like why just have normal water when you can have it cooler and chilled and like a,
Yeah.
a, but it's an absurd amount of ice from what I've heard like not just a few cubes, it's like stacked up.
Yeah, yeah. My when we first came to the United States, like my parents always got water got like whenever we got drinks, they always got it with no ice because they were like, "Oh, they're just trying to water down the drinks, right?" I was
Yeah,
like, and I didn't realize the fact is that the ice is pretty expensive. Like
yeah,
ice is expensive, and it's not like putting ice in drinks actually is like, yeah. So whatever. Um,
yeah. We have that thing that happens in Australia, that parents sometimes say. They go, oh, you know that at McDonald's they put ice in your Coca-Cola so they don't have to give you as much, and they can water it down.
yeah.
And it's actually quite interesting that the way they get Coca-Cola in McDonald's is the best form of Coca-Cola you can get because they put it in a special vat and it is brewed from the syrup and then they carbonate it in a certain way and then the amount of ice they actually mix with it makes it the perfect temperature.
Mm. Um, so Chazi is complaining about his clients. I want to have my dryer running with both ovens on and my AC underfloor heating and 5 people showering at the same time. What every one of my clients is expecting. Always need to upgrade all the electrical infrastructure. Yeah, guess what? We're used to American like levels of comfort.
So what's the Israeli level of comfort? Is it like similar to American or is it like
It's
a
similar
sort of
to British. It's similar to how it is
uh
in England. Um, one thing that okay, things that really bothered me as an American living in Israel. One, um, there's like no carpet and there's dust everywhere. So like everybody has like hard floors. Like very few people have carpet and and so like everybody's constantly washing the floors to get all of the dust out. And if you
yeah.
did have carpet, like the carpet gets dusty, so like you would have to be vacuuming all the time, right? So that's one of the reasons people don't have carpet. But like it's really comfortable to have carpet, you know?
Yeah.
And then yeah, the hot water was a thing. And also, so there's like zero trees in Israel. So wood products are pretty expensive. So toilet paper is really expensive. And like people would bring toilet paper from the United States with them to Israel.
I I do remember you saying that one time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And originally I thought it was a Jewish joke that it was like you're getting a bargain, like you don't have to spend as much on toilet paper there. And then you told me like no, it's just prohibitively expensive.
Well, okay. So I go to So I go to Costco and I get like 24 rolls or 48 rolls. Yeah, it must be 48 rolls. What is it? Yeah, it's like 48 rolls of toilet paper for like $6, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And like in Israel, yeah, yeah, dust forever. Israel is very dusty. Yeah. Healthcare and
Well,
education are cheaper. That's it. Yeah, he's basically right.
okay. Well, it is in the Middle East, right?
It
Israel.
is. Yeah, and it's pretty dry and there isn't a lot of water and like Jerusalem is rocky desert. So it's not sandy desert, but it's rocky desert. And yeah, but Israel has the most doctors per capita in the world.
Why is there not much water? Because it's right near the Levant and like the that sea near Gaza, right? And
Yeah,
is
but
it because of the like infrastructure and the way the water is distributed, or is it just like the surrounding area hasn't got much water?
no, I mean, I think generally that the surrounding area, I mean, the Golan, like Syria and Lebanon has a lot more water
Yeah.
than like Egypt or Jordan or Saudi Arabia or yeah. So if when you go further north, like the Golan, the Sea of Galilee has has a fair amount of water, but like you come down to Jerusalem, and certainly when you go yeah, Chazi says and lawyers, um, and when you go down into the Negev is a desert. I mean, it's just a desert, and like
Yeah.
there's there's the Red Sea and there's the Mediterranean, but those are salt water,
Yeah.
and the Dead Sea is also salt water. Um, yeah, there just isn't a lot of rain. Although there was snow when I was there in Israel, so
Wow.
it snowed in Jerusalem. Not much, but it did snow. Yeah.
That's weird. It like because it doesn't even really snow in Australia unless you go into the mountains. I've never seen snow just randomly fall down. So the fact that it has fallen in Israel, even like a little bit, sort of blows my mind.
Well, Jerusalem is kind of in the hills. I don't think it snows on the coast. You also have to realize so Israel at its thinnest is 10 miles wide and it's only 500 miles tall.
Yeah,
It's pretty tiny.
I'll have to like I agree, and I do know what you mean, but I'm going to look this up just to get a reference point because I Israel.
So
Yeah, yeah, it is.
here
When
is a map
yeah,
of Australia superimposed onto a map of Israel.
yeah, right. Because
So like
I did look it up and like when even just seeing Jordan next to Israel, I was like, it is a lot smaller than like I did conceive of, because I've been looking at map since the conflict.
yeah.
Well, I say conflict, may as well just call it a war at this point. Um, I've been looking at maps which blow up and show Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank, and
Yeah.
it makes it seem a lot bigger than it is. But
So
when you like zoom out, it
yeah, Australia is 353 times bigger than Israel.
yeah, like Australia compared to the US as well is surprising because I think we're apparently bigger.
So Israel is approximately 22,000 square kilometers, and Israel and Australia is almost 8 million square kilometers.
Now, here's a question. On a Discord I'm on,
Mm.
uh, this was a month ago maybe. Or when people were talking about Israel Palestine a bit more, um, the question of like the Palestinians when they had to go from North Gaza to South Gaza, the evacuation.
Mm.
You had was it 3 or 4 checkpoints blocked off, and then Egypt was sort of not agreeing to open theirs,
Right.
and people were discussing like, oh well, who's going to take the Palestinians if anyone would take them, and because you've got this country, and like the Egypt don't want to, and whatever, and someone said, well, what about Australia? Like, would you take the Palestinians? Because
Mm.
like the middle of your country is just pretty much desert. So wouldn't they like they sort of acclimatize to that?
Gaza
I
is so nice. Have you seen pictures of Gaza? It's like on the
no,
beach.
no, I haven't. I just need
Gaza,
to change
yeah,
on my phone.
Gaza. Like there was a video of Gaza on Twitter. Gaza tourism video. Here. Like here. This is a video. Although I mean, I don't know if they're gonna whatchamacallit. Here, I'll just put it in the chat. I don't want to get a copyright strike. But like you can like Gaza's actually like it was a pretty nice place before the little war here. Hello, Chazi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. Thank God. Just dropped off my kids.
You're wearing such muted colors.
Yeah, I woke up a little late, so I had to scramble.
Aha, I didn't know you owned such muted colors.
No, I have to be tactical. This is like my army self, it's coming out. It's bubbling up.
I see.
It's just interesting you jumped into like infrastructure question in this country like you guys were having. I was just gonna say that in Israel, even when I upgrade these homes, it's always a problem because a lot of times the infrastructure in the neighborhood is not there. Like I can't give you that amount of amps for your house. And then there's like a whole discussion of like, why is Israel so backwards? And I'm like, and I just try to explain to the client, like, we don't have to have like a whole like theological thing right now. The point is there isn't enough electricity. So like, what do you want to give up on? And it's always difficult. Like you just said, there's definitely the expectation of the instant hot. And like in Australia or like in England, generally speaking, like what my system is, I have a solar tank and I have just like a time. Right, I have a timer on it basically, so like it goes on like at 5 a.m. and it goes on like again in the evening for like half an hour and it heats up the water. But yes, like my clients don't want to have like the scenario where like I want hot water and I have to wait for like 30 minutes. Or like the difference is like an American dryer will dry like a load within half an hour and an Israeli one will do it in 3 hours. And they cannot handle that.
Well, okay. The thing with the dryer is the quick dryers, they'll ruin your clothes.
Yes.
So
well, there's newer ones that will do a good job, but they're tiny, right? Yeah. They're like very, very small. And you also have to have like these like I'll talk to a client like, but what am I gonna do? I'm like, what you're gonna do is you're gonna realize, okay, that you just spent a few million on this house right now. Yeah. So you'll also realize that when you come here, the week or 2 weeks a month, you're just going to send your stuff out to dry cleaning because you could afford it. We know you could afford it. We should stop having this conversation right now. Like, what am I going to do about my laundry? Because does your son know how to use a iron? No. Okay. So we don't have to have this conversation anymore about like, he's going to do it. He's not going to do it. Oh, like when clients are complaining to me about it and they're also like, but where's my chef going to sit? If there's a chef, then we're really not worried about the underfloor heating costs, right, Mr. Cohen? Because like the chef is there. So, and they have like these breakdowns. Like they tell you that we just flew over here with private jet. what's the cost difference between like a water-based underfloor heating and electrical water? And you're like, oh, okay, sure, we could have this discussion with this breakdown as I'm Googling you and seeing that you just IPO'd your company, but it's all
Okay,
good.
so why are you trying to talk them down from spending more money?
I think it's just had this argument right now with a different project manager.
You think it's a waste?
I think it's a waste. Correct. Like, I don't mind. Like, what do you like specifically? Also, because all my clients are 99% of my clients are observant Jews,
Okay.
right? So like, we're spending the time. Like, why are you buying this house in Israel? Because of the value. Okay, so if it's those values don't mean just spend crazy money on a velvet couch. Like, where is that in the text that you and I like? I also want your couch to be beautiful.
Okay,
it just can't be 50 grand.
I would just say the only thing that bothered me was in terms of snoot. It's not tsunua to throw your money around like that.
Yes, it's not correct. One should be more modest. Again, I generally speaking, is Jerusalem money is spent differently than Tel Aviv money or Central Israel money. It's a lot less flashy in Jerusalem. Even if you have the money, it's just like it's a different look. You're not going for that, let's say, sterile, high-tech sort of feel. So the money gets spent differently over here. But again, I don't mind even spending. I tell my clients, like, maximizing this room. So getting like an awesome Italian style, like Murphy bed that has like all these bells and whistles. I get that. You want to have something that's going to be quality. You want to make sure that people are sleeping on something comfortable. I understand you want to spend good money on that. That's totally fine. But then it starts with just like, no, I'm not happy with this wood. I want to ship in this wood from like, some palace in Timbuktu. And you're like, okay, yeah, we could do it. It's just like an uphill battle in this country, dealing with like the socialist elements of this country.
Oh, right. Importing things with taxes. And Jack has the chutzpah to say hi after he went and played billiards with Trey and didn't invite me. What kind of a person?
Like, I mean, unless they were talking about you and wanted to respect you.
They probably were talking about me. Yeah. But what was I going to say? Oh, so I had this rabbi when I was at Or Sameach. He's still at Or Sameach, Rabbi Sinclair. You can look him up. So he was a music producer, and he was an actor, and he helped. He and a friend of his wrote Rocky Horror Picture Show. And
oh wow!
So, yeah, so he had he received the royalties on the score of the music of Rocky Horror Picture Show,
which still goes on, which still has showings today.
Right, and he produced Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen.
Wow.
And he was the producer for Foreigner. Yeah. So this guy was just raking in the royalties, right? And he's living in Jerusalem. Like this Tsunua guy, right? He was living in Geula it was a nice apartment, but it wasn't like flashy. It was what any American that basically, is well-to-do, like all the lawyers and the doctors, right, had. And like as far as I could tell, like probably this guy like bankrolls a lot of his neighbors, and because they have no idea who Foreigner is or what Rocky Horror Picture Show is or anything like that, even though he would tell the stories about how like he was in a production of Hair. I remember I was at a Shabbat table once.
They thought he was selling shaitels. They're like, Hair, cool, nice.
So I was at a Shabbat table once, and we're talking about how he had given he had a particular speech, basically a one-man show he did where he went to synagogues all over the place, and like he would talk about how he ended up in a yeshiva in Jerusalem, right?
Mhm.
And he would talk about the time when he was touring in a production of Hair, and he wrote Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? And like the people who would listen generally had never seen Rocky Horror Picture Show, had no idea what it was like, didn't know anything about Hair. And I just remember I was at a Shabbat table and we're talking about his speech. And they mentioned, yeah, he was in this production of this thing called Hair. Have you seen it? And I said, well, no, it's a nude production. And like you could hear a pin drop. They had no idea.
You spilled the beans.
They're like, oh, okay.
He's trying to give like excuses. He's like, no, I filmed it right before they go into the mikvah. You have to.
Well, he wasn't there when I said that. But like, yeah, like we were just sitting around Shabbat talking about the speech he had given, right? And yeah, I think they asked me if I had seen Hair or something. I just remember I said it's a nude production, and then like everybody got embarrassed and didn't know what to say.
Like I said, new, not nude. It's a new production. Yeah, there's a couple of those. I have someone I dealt with over here in Israel. She used to produce for she used to produce for HBO. She was dealing with The Sopranos for a while, and now she is makes kosher food. So she always needs to call. She always would call me for kitchens to film in. Do you have clients that could give me a kitchen? Could do this, could do that. But yeah, infrastructure. I have an Australian client. He was also into a very rude awakening. So he came. He's like, I want to build my wife this Tuscan house, and they bought this place in Jerusalem, in this area where there's large actual like homes and not like apartment buildings. And he had a lot of ideas. So idea number one was, listen, Chazi, I don't want to be dependent on the government. Can you dig down to the aquifers and like give me water directly from underneath the ground? So I'm like, no, that's illegal in this country. You can't do that. The water's the government's. He's like, okay, fine. He's like, can you give me a gray water system so I could convert my sewage water? That is illegal in this country. He's like, can you give me a rainwater collector? Also illegal in this country. You cannot do that. He's like, fine. Can I have Tesla shingles on my roof to at least get the electricity? So I said, A, that doesn't exist in Israel. B, we could do solar panels, which I know your wife wants a Tuscan roof, so you could kiss that goodbye if we do that. But regardless, even if I give you solar panels in the States and maybe in Australia, you have like a battery basically. I could store electricity in my battery. And then if I want to, I could power my house off the grid from the grid, or I could power it from my battery or do a split. In Israel, all the power gets sent back to the electric company and they will give you a small deduction on your electric costs. That's it. There's no you powering your own house. There's no grid, nothing like that. So he's having like a very hard time understanding that he now moved to Israel and Big Brother is involved with everything. There's no you off the grid. So yeah, it's Israel still have a lot to grow in its
Why aren't there Tesla so what's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong. It's regulations. It needs to go through a code, needs to go through bureaucracy, and that is okay. So, for example, why many of my clients end up doing quasi illegal work, right? It's like it's this built-in conflict because many of them are religious people. So how are they doing work without a permit? And the reason is because in Israel, if you want a permit, not for like, I want to build like a water slide in a pool at my house. I want to open up a new window. No problem. We will get back to you like in 2 to 3 years. Right? So no one can actually move forward with any project if that's the process. Because then like my client's going through it right now. They had all these dreams to do for this house. Add 2 floors, dig underground, do this. I said, listen, they're gonna get stopped. You can't do this work. No, let's do it this way. We started working within half a year. Of course, we got stopped because we're basically like creating like a massive crater in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And needless to say, obviously, all the work is like everyone's doing work safely. No one's playing any games on that regard. But the city comes, they're like, what are you doing? You need to get permits, blah, blah, blah. No problem. It turns into now we know it's going to be like a 6-year process. 3 years of one permit, 3 years to another permit. Now I'm trying to explain to the client, like he's complaining. I'm like, you understand, like I'm going to pass my 40th birthday on your project. I started it when I was like 37. You understand? Like I'm moving into the future over here. And I'm trying to explain to the parent the dynamic where they're like, oh, but my daughter's going to be in this room. I said, Mrs. X, stop. In 6 years from now, your daughter's married. There isn't your daughter in this room anymore. So you have to look at this house. You can't look at this house right now with your kids. Like keep on talking to me about like where the playroom's going to go. That's like for the grandchildren. Because like your 10-year-old, right, is going to be 16. And she has other things in her mind. She's not going to be thinking about her Cindy doll. But it's hard for them to plan that way. They want it now and as quickly as possible.
Well, if I would just give them the price of it, and if they can afford it, let them have it.
Oh, so after October 7th, right, I had clients that were like, that's it, Chazi. I don't want to work with any Arab workers. Absolutely not. I want only Jewish crews. I was like, all right, listen, but you have to realize Jewish crews, besides them being Jewish and having a tremendous amount of attitude, they're also significantly more expensive. It's not a problem. These are my brothers. I can't. War. I'm like, okay, I totally get it. I come back with the pricing. It's like, so after he told me this, I spoke to my partner and I said, let's see now. We're going to see if he's more Jewish or more racist. So we'll see what happens. I come back with the pricing. It's around 20% more. And the client's like, listen, you have to understand at the end of the day, Yishmael is our brother. We have to try to work together. Anyway, so very, very quickly, the conflicts became small. So it is.
Hey, Andre's trying to use his Hebrew translate on us. He wrote Chatul Shachor v'Chamud in Jacob.
A black cute cat with Jacob. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Not bad.
Not bad. I mean, besides cursing him, everything else was great. Very offensive cursing.
Although, would you gender it Chatula Shechora v'Chamuda?
But there could be also a chatul. It doesn't have to be a chatula. I mean, we don't know which one it is.
Yeah, we do. Shadow's female. What are you talking about?
Oh, well, sorry. If that's, I mean, I didn't assume Andrew just knew. Andrew just knew. But chatula shchora, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing is it's gendered. Yeah. You're still muted, Andre.
Jacob, but that's the beginning of making the black cat. Is as long as if you know that its mother was a black cat and its mother was a black and its grandmother was a black cat, you are halfway into making the potion of seeing demons.
Well, I don't know if its mother was a black cat, and she's been spayed, so not gonna know.
Is that like black catness is passed down via the mother, just like Judaism?
Actually, I don't know if the Talmud, if the requirement is 3 generations through the mother's side or the father's side, but I believe there's a requirement of it being like a few generations of a black cat, and then the recipe gets a little more convoluted. I think you need like a piece of the placenta. It's not easy. You can't just buy it in the store.
Okay. I mean, you know far more about magic than any of the rest of us, Fezzi.
Is he a Kabbalist?
Kabbalistim listim? He's a listim. I don't know about a kabbalistim.
I'm a
so this-
listim. Is that supposed to be like I'm stealing the secrets of the Torah?
Well, that was one of my favorite puns. One of my rabbis made. He would call them kabbalistim listim. So listim it's actually from the Greek. Listoi means means thief. So listim means thief, and kabbalistim, right? So kabbalist, and you make it plural with the plural ending in Hebrew. So you could do kabbalistim listim. Yeah.
Interesting.
I would say that there's a tension there between believing that as we get closer to the end days and the days of redemption, the need for the Torah secrets to be revealed are needed. So I think you could see, whether it's the Baal Shem Tov or the whole Hasidic movement, and obviously now even with Rav Nachman, so you could see a lot of these influences has made it through the mainstream, and I think that's healthy. Having said that, you're still we'll use a different analogy for a second. You guys were talking about nuclear power. So in a certain sense, opening up the doors to the secrets of Hasidut and Kabbalah have allowed many people to have their own little nuclear plants, interior fusion, which allows them to really grow and benefit tremendously from their relationship with God. Having said that, if you play with nuclear powers incorrectly and you don't have the proper mechanism to hold it, then it can be very devastating and lead to not ideal results. So people need to be very careful with it. And unfortunately, there are many people that like to dive very deep into those waters and talk about it as if they are
yes, that's true. I'm on a few discords. Like one is like a semi sort of like half spirituality, half like let's smoke weed type of server, and there was a guy on there who said like, oh, I love the Kabbalah, and I'm like, oh, so you've read the Torah, and he goes, no, what's the Torah? I'm like, you don't know the Torah or the Tanakh? And he's like, Tanakh? I'm like, so you're just reading from the Kabbalah? You don't know, like, you know what it is, right? It's Jewish mysticism. It's like, yeah, I'm adding it to like my reading of Aleister Crowley. I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work well. I'm like, you know that in Judaism, like they advise that you don't even touch the Kabbalah before the age of 40. Like a man has to have read the Torah and understand it, because you need that wisdom and to live life in order to like commune with God and to get the like those mystic secrets. And it's like, oh well, I think you can just get like the magical parts from it, like on its own, right? Like you should. It's like philosophy. I'm like, no, dude, it's not. Like it's not the same thing.
Yeah,
correct.
but he smoked weed, so
it's very much not like philosophy. I mean, people sometimes get confused that way and look at it as such. And while there could be some similar trends, many times even the jargon being used is not really. I mean, there's terms like "en self," for example, or the "yesh mina ein" or the "ein mina yesh." These are very, very complicated conversations. And I saw Aubrey Marcus, and he had some. He had some rabbi that I guess he's been in touch with, and they started their podcast with a nigun, which is like this how'd you say nigun in English, Jacob? Like a tune, like
a hymn, I guess.
It's a hymn, but it's supposed to get you into this like sort of. You keep on repeating this hymn, and it gets you into this sort of
like a
state.
trance.
Exactly, like this trance state. Well, not fully, but it was sort of weird to see someone take a tune that is being like sung in like these little rickety houses with people like, you know, these like little Jews huddled together, keeping
Yeah.
warm from the pogroms, to then see like Aubrey Marcus like singing about like, yeah, like I tried these forced rooms and now we're gonna sing this sequence for like 15 minutes. And they're like, so do I think there's no value there? No, but not only like these things could be corrupted, these things could be taken advantage of. So, and unfortunately, many times in the name of God, so to speak, right? This is what people are going to go around saying, like this is what he means, or this is what he wants.
Well, you know, there's a Hasidic tradition of taking popular songs and turning them into nigunim, right?
There's a band called Schlock Rock, right? They schlock songs.
Well, but for example, in Chabad, the Marseillaise is used a lot.
So yeah, there are tunes. That's also a point of tension, right? There are clearly tunes in Jewish prayer that have done some cultural appropriation to some tunes, popular tunes. However, seemingly, you know, sort of that chapter is closed. It's very difficult to bring in like a new tune into a synagogue and not get like pushback from that. And they'll be
What
like,
are you talking about?
no,
You're spending way too much time with Litvaks.
Yeah, there are, yes, you could bring in like a new tune, but like if you decided right now to do like a song, a Yom Kippur song to the tune of like "I Can't Help Falling in Love with You" by Elvis, you're gonna get pushback. It doesn't matter how beautiful it sounds.
You're going to the wrong synagogues, Chezi.
I know. I go to a lot of singing. I love singing.
You just go to a Karlebach minyan. Nobody will say a word.
But even Carly Bach, that's the point. I go to a million that has a Carly Bach on it, but like, you know, they stick. Well, which I totally understand.
Oh, people have things they like.
Yeah.
People tend to, like, I prefer the Sephardic nigunim for especially Yom Kippur. I can't stand Ashkenazi davening for Yom Kippur. Oh my God, it's so horrible.
It's a little depressing and very very long. I've had a few my younger years in yeshiva. I bounced between like Sephardi and Ashkenazi on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah.
Let's face it, Ashkenazim have started coming to Sephardic slichot because our slichot are just better.
Yeah. So besides the fact that they start like 100 days earlier, we would eventually there'll be a good blend between both, which was attempted in Israel in the past, but was there was pushback. There's pushback on that.
This is what I was gonna ask. So, what the Noahide World Center or whatever you're dealing with is is with Machon Shiloh?
No, Machon. There was 2 links sent on the Noahide page. One was Rabbi Shulman, and one was this other.
Okay. Yeah, Rabbi Shulman. He's serious.
Right. So he's involved with I said, like, if you open up that link, you'll see that little logo on the side as well that I use.
Yeah.
And my point to them was, he would be like, he doesn't hold, according to some of the shitas that Rav Shirky and their Brit Olam book comes out.
He has his own shitot.
Correct. Which is nice is though, he'll say, he's like, I think that is silly. He's like, but there's Rav Weiner does this, and that's totally fine, and do his thing. Yeah. And again, it's obviously for some, it's difficult to see that tension sort of spoken about.
But it's necessary.
Correct.
But so I don't actually know his qualifications. I didn't know if he was like a serious posek in the okay.
He's serious. He also engages in a very sort of like serious nonsense matter. He just sort of like goes through his stuff, but he takes it very seriously, and he has like, I think like maybe like twice a month or maybe 3 times a month he comes out with like a video. And he doesn't really do so much like halacha by halacha. It's more like question and answer, and talks about like the topics sort of like
one thing I like is that he's willing to say, look, there are there are Piskei Din that I give privately. Like he mentioned once, I have a Noahide who her family is in India, and um, she's from a Hindu family, and the advice I give her is not what I publicly tell people. And
Well, so
people understanding that is important.
I mean, this is one of Rav Shirky's major points, which is yes, ultimately everyone is in this vision becomes, let's say, a Noahide, but it's very important that Hindu Noahides, people recognize they're going to express themselves differently than the Chinese.
Well, we lost Chazi, but that's a good thing because he was talking silliness. That's not what I meant with Rabbi Shulman's stuff.
Yeah.
Rabbi Shulman isn't. It's not just that. It's like, hold on, this is somebody who has a family and she has to deal with her family who are Hindus, and that's not the exact same situation as somebody who like lives with a Christian family. Got it, Chazi?
Jacob, what is that? There's a Jewish hymn or prayer. It's like Alunai Hai something.
Chai Olamim.
Yeah, that's probably it.
What I was just trying to do with the Marseillaise? Haderet ve'amuna l'chai olamim?
No. What came to mind is that there was an Eric Weinstein interview, and he was trying to link the song "You Shook Me All Night Long" to Alunai Hai.
No,
like,
Adon Olam, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Adon
Well, I don't see
Olam
how
can be
those-
sung to any like that one thing can be sung literally to basically any song in the world.
Yeah, so this was funny. Like, one of your like less liked people that you probably know of brought this up, but it was a funny clip because he says that you can claim that "You Shook Me All Night Long" is as transcendent as that
As Adon Olam?
Yes, because it can be sung in the same sort of tone. And I was just like, oh, Eric, like, what are you saying? Like,
No. So you have to understand, Adon Olam, like, it's a hymn that's sung in Jewish circles, but like I have literally had people be like, "Hey, give me a song and I will sing Adon Olam to it," and you can do it because like it's just that easy. Like, am I wrong, Kazi?
No, it's easy to attach a tune to it. However, like any tune to it, like it's malleable that way. However, one is talking about recognizing your creator in a very deep way, and the other one's talking about someone's sex experience. So, like, they're very, very different, obviously.
yes.
Although they're very similar in certain ways.
Well, so I was gonna say,
Yeah.
if you sang like, there's a song we sing on Friday night. It's called Yadid Nefesh, which is you're talking to God as your soul partner, your soul lover, your soul companion. So those are very intimate words that we talk to God. And there's obviously Song of Songs, which is also very intimate. But again, the setting is very different when singing Song of Songs. There's less it's not sung like a rock song though.
Yeah, that's like, say what you will about bad stats and the things he said, but like when he pointed that out, I was like, oh, that's a fail by Eric though. Like that's a real reach for the marking it about transcendence. Like, I don't know what he was on about.
Yeah, there's way better songs, secular songs that you could say, like, most of the Pink Floyd repertoire is a better selection than "You Shook Me All Night Long." But
yes.
as far as the tune goes, yes, you could put many tunes together. It also depends what synagogue you're in. Like, I'm in a strictly no talking synagogue, so like they take the singing very, very seriously throughout the whole I mean, so prayer services are usually like 2 hours, and the expectation is just like you're focusing.
Yeah.
But there's places where there's like a lot more chitter chatter.
I didn't know that was a thing. A no talking synagogue.
Oh yeah.
There's always signs also, like if you came here to talk, where are you gonna pray, right? Like little things like that.
Yeah.
But the rabbis in some synagogues have to deal with, okay, we want people to come, so we're gonna allow them to have at some point during the services. They have, it's called a kiddush club, or some of the guys go out and they have some whiskey or some scotch. But the problem is that becomes into this whole culture, either people getting like drunk at synagogue, or they go do this little club during the reading from the text. So, the rabbi doesn't want people leaving at that moment when like we're actually reading the text. So again, some synagogues they have to deal with this drama, and the rabbi has to be political about it. At the end of the day, we're humans, so you have to play these games.
Sure.
Speak for yourself.
About being human, I
Yeah.
speak to myself. You got it. But that's why it's easy for me to avoid these clubs, considering the fact that I don't drink alcohol. So
You don't drink alcohol?
no, I mean, not like if you like. I'm not gonna like throw someone's bottle of wine out in front of me if like someone offers it. But I don't really partake. I have my other vices, Jacob. I don't need.
I've
alcohol.
noticed. We've noticed your
do
gravelly
now.
voice very clearly indicates what your vices are, Chazi.
One of those vices. Partaking of the herb of God.
Yes, I partake. Not that I want to. I just want to be one with Earth. One with Gaia. I just have to
So
Gaia.
you don't want to do it, but you just choose to.
Okay, guys. I have class tomorrow morning.
Good night, sir. Have a productive
okay,
day.
yeah.
Andre, take care.
You
I
too,
am going to
Hezzy.
end the stream. Good night, people.
Good night.